2 days ago, I was on an airplane and I decided to watch the movie The Notebook. I hadn't seen it in about a decade, but something in me said, watch that movie when I saw it scrolling by on the screen. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm just a sucker for a sappy romance movie. But this time, it really hit me really hard. The last 20 or 30 minutes, I was pretty well bawling my eyes out with everyone sleeping around me. You know, it's one of those moments where you feel so alone despite being so tightly packed with other people. And it just hit me hard, just its themes of love and romance and sacrifice and loss and aging. Yeah, I love that movie. I know people think it's sappy and cheesy and corny, but so is love sometimes, and so is life. And I think it'd be silly to act like art that goes there is inherently wrong. I just think it's offering a different perspective. And anyways, in that movie is Gena Rowlands. She's an actress. She plays the old version of Rachel McAdams' character, Allison. She plays her when she's old and she has dementia. And there's a lot of really sad scenes, especially towards the end with Gena Rowlands. And that's probably the performance that the mainstream public knows Gena Rowlands for. And I remember watching her on that screen, and I've had this thought many times. She was the living person that I wanted to meet the most. I've always thought that. I'm such a huge fan of her and John Cassavetes. Exhibit A, this poster that's in the background of almost all these videos. I adore them. And I've always had the thought, I want to meet Gena Rowlands. And I always knew she was in her 90s. And I was like, man, time's running out. But if I could just sit down and talk to her about her life and John and kind of express that maybe there's a lot of people doing what John was doing back in the day nowadays that she might not be aware of, and she might be happy to hear that. Maybe that was the egotistical thread that was in wanting to meet her, just letting her know that his vision of filmmaking is living on in a lot of ways. And I don't know, I always had that thought. And then one day later, she passed away. I finished my trip, got home, and saw the news online, Gena Rowlands passed away. And it was sad and bittersweet to hear, because her and John's movies mean so much to me. John Cassavetes is a director. You've heard me talk about him if you've watched this channel. And Gena Rowlands was his wife when he was alive. And they made these just painfully beautiful movies about love that you just truly felt their love through the screen, whether he was behind or in front of the camera with her. And especially their final movie, Love Streams, where they play this sort of brother-sister pair, and it becomes about this love in the universal sense. And John knew he had a prognosis to live 6 months, so he made this final movie with his wife that was an outpouring of love and trying to figure out what love is. And it's my favorite movie of all time. It makes me bawl more than The Notebook, but she is just such a talented, powerful performer. And I don't know what it is about her, but she seems so simultaneously in control and totally out of control when she's performing in an amazing way. And you're watching her on screen, and you have this sense that she's like killing it, like doing such an amazing job with the performance, but she also has no idea what she's doing. She's losing it and trying to keep a hold of it. And I think it's a great actor who lets themselves lose it a little, lets themselves stray away from what they thought they were going to do and just go somewhere else. I mean, just watch A Woman Under the Influence, one of the greatest performances in the history of movies. She is just a hard sight to watch in that movie, because you're watching a woman go through a breakdown time and time again, and her family's inability to cope with it. And she just portrays somebody who's so alone and lost in their struggles, despite the people trying to help her with the wrong tools, or not having the tools to help her, or using the tools the wrong way, or whatever you want to say. She portrayed that so beautifully, and she brings that into all her movies. And I think that's such a raw and vulnerable thing to bring, that this sort of organized chaos of acting that she does. Opening Night is another fantastic movie where she plays an aging actress who is coming to terms with the fact that she's no longer, a star, and all these men in her life are using her and abusing her, and you just see her barely holding herself together. And I think that's what she did better than anything. She played characters who had to hold themselves together because of their circumstances, but at the same time, those exact circumstances are the things that are tearing them apart inside. And you see that tearing apart on her face, worn at all times through cracked smiles and crooked expressions. And she plays somebody who can't help but wear her emotions on her face. And you just get the sense that through it, she is expressing so much truth within her. She's showing you the world that exists within her, and acting to her was as true of an art as that art can be when it comes to expressing the soul and the breadth of her experience. And John Cassavetes passed away in 1989 in his 50s, and their love was so apparent and transparent and honest on screen. The warts and all. The movies weren't about loving couples that were perfect. They were about couples that desperately wanted to love each other and couldn't. Couples that tried to love each other in all the wrong ways. People who hurt each other but still loved each other at the end of the day, or at least tried to. This is what all their movies were about, and you can't help but, maybe connect the dots. And I don't mean to imply anything that wasn't actually there, but you imagine that their relationship could have been as tumultuous as the ones they chose to portray. And losing him nonetheless was certainly devastating. And it's hard to picture having that sort of artistic collaboration with somebody where you're expressing your soul and expressing yourself so openly, and to lose that and not have that for 40 years and living without him for 40 years, you imagine what that must have been like. And I don't know, I saw a comment online that said they're reunited now, and no matter what you believe in spiritually, I think that's always sort of a sweet thing to say, whatever you believe in, they're reunited. And I have barely seen her movies beyond John Cassavetes. It's something I'm woefully underwatched. I'd love to watch more of them. I've seen The Notebook, that's for sure. But I just want to make a video. I'm by no means an expert on her biography, or by no means an expert even on her filmography. I'm just a huge admirer of what she was able to bring to the movies that I do love that she's in. And I don't think anyone else could have brought it, and that's the mark of a great performer. Somebody who comes on screen, and it's not even a question if somebody else was cast. Somebody else couldn't have been cast because those movies were made for her, and she was made for those movies. And it's very rare to see a movie like that where the performer is so intrinsically tied to the subject matter and the material and the director, and it's just really something to see. I strongly encourage you check them out. I've recommended the movies many times, but like I said, A Woman Under the Influence, that's a great starting point. Brutal watch, but so are all of them. Faces, she's amazing in that, some incredible scenes. And then Opening Night. And Gloria is a fun one. It wasn't one of my favorites, but it's like John Cassavetes doing more of like crime Hollywood movies starring his wife, and that's really fun to watch. You could tell they had fun making that one. And then Love Streams, of course. I always recommend people watch a couple other Cassavetes before Love Streams, because I think just having a sense of who they were together gives you a really beautiful thing. And I've always viewed them as one of the great cinematic couples in history, and I always felt like she was keeping them alive through her presence. And now they're both gone, which is a little sad but inevitable. And she lived along, and I hope a fulfilling and beautiful life. So thank you, Gena Rowlands, for all you did. And no matter what's happening out there, I hope somehow John and you get to see each other again. I love you guys. I love movies. Have a nice day.